people, it's always the fear of the unknown, right? If you don't know, you're scared. It makes people scared.
Exactly. And this is why within the law practice AI, we're very excited to work with your company because we all sort of on the same mission of helping both client and the law firms to operate the business of law more effectively and more efficiently, take less time to do things. Hello, everyone. This is Hamid Kohan from lawpractice.ai. I have a great guest here today. Jay Burchfield from Case Status has joined us to talk about our new initiative from Law Practice AI, working with a variety of different great vendors in the industry, in the legal industry. And Case Status is definitely been a very value add service provider in this industry. So, Jay, welcome to the program.
Mead, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So, Jay, from the introduction, a lot of people might not be familiar with the Case Status in our audience. So, can you describe your services and a little bit about the company so people get familiar with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Case Status was founded back in 2017. So, we're about 8 years old, really kind of looking at, I come from outside the legal industry. And one thing that I found is just the nature of legal in general. They have been hesitant to adopt technology just because they haven't had to. And where Case Status came into play was looking at other industries and looking at like mobile banking, for instance, where in the past, you had a banker, you're going to the bank, you're talking, you have a relationship, all the transactions are happening in person. And now you have a mobile app where, whatever bank you use, you go to the mobile app, you can see exactly what's going on, what's transpired, where we're at. And so basically we're taking that into the legal industry. So giving clients the opportunity to see, it's kind of the fear of the unknown, right? Where people, if they don't know what's going on, they're going to reach out and they're going to try to find out. And so what we're doing is giving them insight into exactly their entire case journey. So where they've started, where they are, where they're going, the things they need to accomplish, the things their attorney is doing. So basically giving them kind of that transparency across the board. And then to your point about the partnership, just leveraging AI to streamline a lot of those manual tasks that, take up time or just tedious and arduous, automating those within the platform and giving firms really the ability to understand, what does this client experience look like for my clients? How can I improve the client experience? And so by leveraging Case Status, they can do that in a relatively automated fashion.
Right. I'm glad you said that because originally, like many years ago, when I got involved in this industry, I started as being a sort of fractional COO in several law firms, especially in personal injury. And one of the first problems I found out that when the receptionist was busy, there was a lot of people just calling, wanting to talk to the case manager or the attorney, just simply wanting to know the status of their case. It was so funny that it was like, when I did the numbers, like 80% of the calls or unhappy clients are calling in, and all they want to know is the status of their case and making sure the law firm hasn't forgotten about them or forgotten about the case. And it was a sort of a simple matter, but it was like, why is it such a big deal? Why can the firm just provide all this information so they don't get all of this volume of unhappy calls? So I'm glad you guys have that solution because it probably reduced 60-70% of the incoming calls to the firm just for the purpose of finding out what's going on with my case.
Yeah.
So that's great. And you mentioned about the AI, the law practice AI that we are developing is to enhance that experience even a little farther, is to be able to create an operating system environment with the AI where the law firm and the clients are basically sharing informations, and the AI can determine what can be streamlined and what can we learn from the previous information or previous interaction with the client. So the Case Status is definitely one of those things that it says what is typically wants to be known by both the law firm and the client about all the previous interaction with the previous clients about regarding the same type of cases. So within the law practice AI, we are creating the operating system that is a combination of variety of different developed solution internally to that would do anything from intake AI to drafting to even as far as the marketing assistance and so forth. And on top of that, bringing vendors like yourself into our network and our platform to enhance that experience. So the law firms are essentially don't have to spend a lot of time and a lot of research to find out what do they need to use, how they need to use it, how they interact together, and so forth. So that's basically the law practice AI solution. With this case status initiative, where do you see the industry going as far as the integrating the case status with either AI or other applications that enhance the experience and the outcome with the case and the firm who are handling it?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think, with AI, it's like any technology that is becoming more and more just, across the board. Like every industry is using AI and it's becoming something to where it's the standard that people
Right.
are using. And it's not so much, I think people are scared of AI because they think it's going to replace people. And that's
It is going to replace people for
well,
sure. I think
eventually.
that cat is out of the bag.
Yeah,
So
well,
they
eventually, I guess in the legal industry, what we're using AI for is not necessarily to replace people. It's to free those people up to work on the most impactful things they can do, which is building relationships, strategizing. If you're an attorney, focusing on winning cases. So using AI for things like automating responses or,
right,
asking for references, asking for referrals, for giving, like you said, you used to be kind of a COO, kind of the operator of a firm, giving you as that COO insight into which of my attorneys is doing an incredible job of engaging with their clients and which maybe, you could be the greatest legal mind who ever lived. That doesn't mean you're necessarily great at communicating, to
right.
people, that social butterfly, that extroverted nature. So what we're doing is leveraging AI to free up folks, take those manual, arduous, tedious tasks and automating them, but taking it a step further, using the firm's voice, right? So we're taking all these interactions and like you, with leveraging AI, we can see what are the typical responses to these types of questions based on the firm's voice. We can also use the AI for simple translation, for clients that are, English is their second language. We're also doing things like summarizing cases using AI, not just what you're gathering on kind of the back office, but also through the interactions, through the engagement between the attorney and the client. What can we gather from that? What can we summarize from that in terms of the experience, in terms of where the case is going? And then ultimately getting to allowing AI to make predictions based on past circumstances within that specific firm. So there's a lot of pieces that go along with AI that we're leveraging, very synergetically with you. But at the same time, it's not meant to necessarily take over a human. It's more so freeing up that human so they can focus on the most meaningful tasks.
Exactly. There's a lot of, I mean, from beginning of this whole process of first implementing CRMs, I worked with a lot of firms had no CRM, so they had a bunch of, admins and legal assistants and so forth acting like a CRM. So the CRMs came in, it was intelligent CRM, so it replaced or helped them to grow into higher valued positions by using intelligent CRMs. And even with like a case status that you're talking about, I'm sure there's a lot of admins or receptionists and so forth who are constantly just doing what case status does. Their job has definitely changed, and hopefully they moved into a higher valued, tasks. The AI is going to do the same thing. On the law practice AI, we are even to the extent of having a full blown intake that is customized to the practice type, because we notice when we have a big intake staff, everyone is different and sort of answering questions differently to the same type of a client and same kind of a case. And for the life of us, with some of the firms, we cannot standardize that because we can't program people. I mean, we can teach them, we can coach them, we'll train them, but we can't standardize it to the most efficient way of asking questions or collecting answers or analyzing answers to come up with the follow-up questions is almost impossible. I have a firm that we work with that has a 39 full-time intake staff. And imagine these 39, and they're from 4 different countries because they're global staff that LegalSoft provides. By the way, I'm obviously associated with LegalSoft, which provides virtual legal staffing. So this firm with 39 intake staff that we provided from LegalSoft, and they're in 4 different countries, try to standardize that. I mean, not quite possible. We can get to some efficiency, but with the AI intake, you keep learning and reprogramming until you get it perfect. So there's not going to be a choice, basically, some point down the line that I want to keep my intake people. Well, you can, but you probably have to realign them to something else or some other task because the intake AI is going to take over. Like the case status has sort of taken over from a bunch of operators, essentially, looking up the CRM status and telling the client, oh, I think your case is now possibly in demand or is in litigation, and that's even a guess. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are doing well and solving that one problem within the legal practice, the law practice.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I speak to a lot of our customers, just getting their feedback on, what they like, things we can improve. We're always kind of striving for excellence. And I was talking to one of our larger firms the other day, actually this week, and he put it in kind of simple terms. He was like, look, if I'm paying someone 30, 40, 50, $60 an hour, I don't want them working on minimum wage tasks. I don't want them working on, something that anyone can do, which represents sometimes 75 to 80% of their time, which is focusing on kind of those medial tasks, right? Where you're, giving people feedback. People are asking simple questions that literally AI can do. And so he was like, that's what you're doing for me is giving my people, yes, they've kind of realigned their team so that they can focus on the things that are important. But those simple tasks that AI can accomplish using that firm's voice, that's what we do. And it frees up time. It allows for firms to, get a better caseload, to move cases faster through kind of that experience. There's a lot of benefits that come through it. So we're totally aligned.
How many CRM platforms are you integrated with?
Let me see. At last count, I think over 10.
10. And with this CRMs, you're essentially connected to be able to pull client case status and communicate that to the client, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, right.
How else are the people doing this? Because I think this is the essential part, but it's like, how else can this thing be done other than automated fashion? Are the
Yeah.
people still trying to do this manually?
Yeah. I mean, it's, I seem to be in the age, I'm 42, just turned 42. And I seem to be in the age where a lot of my friends are, going through legal issues, whether it be, marital issues or just other legal things. And I oftentimes I'm intrigued to find out like how they're communicating with their attorneys today if they're not using case status. And I sometimes, even when I'm talking with, folks that don't know who case status is, I'll show them my phone and say, look, I have thousands and thousands of emails that I have not opened. I have 384 text messages that I have not looked at, and I've got a bunch of voicemails too that I haven't listened to. And so I think that's the way. I mean, of course, a lot of case management platforms, they have their own portals that are included in there, but it's not as simple as it sounds. Meaning, you have to get online, you have to log in, you have to, go through that tedious process to be able to see what's going on. Whereas with case status, they download the app once, very simple. Every time they click on that app, they can see where they're at. So it's an interesting kind of analysis that we did where we looked at, over I think 2.5 million users that are using case status mobile app. out there in the US. And 90% of the time that they get on the app, they don't actually do anything. They're just getting on the app to see where are we? To your point, has the attorney forgotten about me? Like where are we in the case? So, whereas in the past, those would be phone calls to the attorney like, hey, where's my case? Hey, where's my case? Now they click on the app, they press one button, they see where they're at. It gives them kind of a comfort to know, like, just, people, it's always the fear of the unknown, right? If you don't know, you're scared. It makes people scared.
Exactly, and this is why within the law practice AI, we're very excited to work with your company because we all sort of on the same mission of helping both client and the law firms to operate the business of law more effectively and more efficiently, take less time to do things. See, like one of the issues, like when I was listening to people inquiring about their case status and finding out where things are, one of the big comments was, especially in the personal injury, was like, oh, we're still working on your medical record collection. And we start trying to summarize and understand your medical bills and medical recommendations and injuries and so forth. And then they were telling them, or then after we do all of this, then we're going to take some time, 2 or 3 weeks, to complete your demand and send it out to the insurance company, and then we can get that. And people already see on the phone getting frustrated with all of those delays that the case manager just explained, basically telling them we're behind. So what the law, so your software can actually provide them the status and say, medical records done, demands done, whatever. So they're just hearing the story. In the law practice AI, well, we can do everything I just said in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
All medical records summarized. It doesn't matter. It's 500 pages of medical records from 10 different facilities, creating a medical chronology, creating an editable, customizable demand that you can send out to the adjuster. So your software can say, the demand has been sent to the insurance company. Instead of giving that whole story of we're working on this, we're working on that, it says demand's done. Basically, there's no waiting cycle, 5 minutes. And the firms have to understand that you cannot have a backlog of this type of a thing. When the case is done and you need to do a medical summary, you need to do a chronology, you need to send out the demand. If you don't, both the firm and the clients are unhappy because they're not getting the compensation that they deserve in a timely manner, because somebody in the firm is sitting on a bunch of documents and the demands and so forth, and they're not processing it. Basically, no summary, no demand, no offer, no compensation.
Yeah.
So, but having them understand that is a challenge. So within the law practice, we're actually going to the beginning of the cycle, from the intake all the way to settlement within one AI platform, because every day there is 5 new, very, very specific AI legal software coming up that overwhelming the heck out of attorneys who are already confused with all the technology they get approached with and don't know which one to choose, which one works, which one doesn't. So I think at some point they're just going to stop testing the stuff. And that's what we come in and we say is only one place to go for all of the law practice needs, and that's a law practice AI.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think you're exactly right. And I think, while you guys are handling the back office of the firm, we're handling the front office of the firm. And,
Exactly.
with the efficiency gains that folks will get from using your platform, and, just on average, we see cases move at about 30% faster for the folks that are using case status. So you combine those two and the gains are exponential.
Exactly. And in the plaintiff market, everybody is in the rush to basically recover the injuries, recover the compensation they need to get, and so forth. And that 33% that you mentioned, it could be a difference between several months that they have to wait longer when the firm is not equipped with the technologies that we were just talking about. And they're just somebody somewhere just sitting on the file, and the time just goes by, and everybody suffers in that technology.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the problem that arises out of that too is when you don't have a way to understand the client sentiment, how are they feeling today, then, you find out after the case is over, right? You find
Right.
out, if you win the case, everyone's happy, and they're happy with the settlement or the payout or whatever it looks like, then great. And if you don't win, then of course they're not happy and they're
Exactly.
dissatisfied.
No,
And
you're
so,
absolutely right. So I'm
yeah,
very excited about the partnership we have started establishing with your company, the case status and the law practice AI. I think the combination of two, and hopefully other companies and other technologies join us on providing a one comprehensive solution to a firm that needs to stay up with times and technologies and optimizations and move forward. So I'm very excited about our engagement. Anything in the closing?
yeah. I mean, I would say, it's like anything else. People are scared of change. And, I graduated high school 25 years ago, and I was the first kind of the high schoolers that went through that had cell phones, right? And it is a measured difference between like me talking to someone who's older than me and me talking to someone who's younger than me in terms of how they like to communicate, right?
Right,
So, like my younger brother is 4 years younger than me, so not a huge age gap.
right,
I'll call him. I like to talk on the phone. I'm old school that way. I like to talk to people and engage,
right,
right? And I'll call him. I'll leave a message. He won't call me back, but he sure as heck will write me a 5,000 word text message and send it to me, right? Like it's just a different form of communication. So
right,
what we're doing is we're looking at a kind of a macro scale, and we're meeting people where they want to be met, which is on their mobile device, on this mobile app. It's the same thing as like, we oftentimes tell people when we go to conferences or have speaking engagements, like, hey, how many people booked a hotel through their hotel app? Or how many
right,
people, use Delta or American Air or whatever, use their app? Because when something's important to you, you want it consolidated. You want it
right.
all in one place. And so that's what we're doing. I think that's the reason why we're growing so fast, working with companies like yours to very complementary, kind of working together, making one equal three. If we can work on the efficiency gains on the front end, you guys are working on the back end. If we can meet together, everybody wins.
Which we are. Through this partnership, we'll definitely do. Jay, it has been a pleasure speaking with you and having you in this podcast. I hope everybody, gets some value out of this. And where would people find you if they need to contact you? Where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn, Jay Burchfield, or you can just shoot me an email to Case Status. It's the letter J, last name Burchfield at casestatus.com.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I'm Hamid Kohan, CEO of lawpractice.ai and also legalsoft.com. So thank you for everybody who watched this and sent any connection toward us. That would be wonderful. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, sir. Have a great weekend.
Thanks.